Well, it happened.
I had a dream. Almost like a premonition.
I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. Well, technically only 2 hours, but who's counting? Not me. Not all the way to 4. Huh? I figured, why not step in here, fill you in on things I'm feeling, things I've written down, and then we'll go back, finish up strong, and, well, we'll establish if 4 hours of a Zack Snyder film is really the best thing that you have ever seen, says the internet. First and foremost, I want to get this out there. I did not see Joss Whedon's version of this movie from a few years ago. At that point in time, I could not have cared less about most comic book movies. And anything from the DC universe at that point had been tainted by Zack Snyder so badly for me that I refused to watch it. Man of Steel is probably the most disappointing film I've ever seen in my life. The trailer for that film is better than the film. Then he moved on to Batman vs. Superman, and that was, well, it's going to be a schlock masterpiece in a matter of years.
Why did you say that name?
Then the drama about the movie started to unfold, and Snyder had left, and Whedon had joined. And I went, oh, I see what you're doing. You're hiring the Avengers guy. Like, wow, subtle. So it was just, it had disaster written all over it for me from the get-go. When this hashtag had started, I was shocked. I didn't get it. I couldn't believe it was real. This movie, with a hashtag alone, has divided the internet for the last 2 to 3 years. And now we're here, the culmination of something. So some would say this is probably the best way to come at this movie. With the original director's complete vision, intent, and end product. I mean, this is the way to see this movie, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So with that context, with these fresh eyes, let's talk about the first 2 hours of Zack Snyder's The Justice League. And I had to write stuff down again, so we're gonna trust the handy piece of paper. The opening. Immediate eye roll. Of course, this movie has to literally open with slow-mo and a dying Superman screaming so loud that his death shrills travel across the earth. They're so powerful. They cross the earth, and yet all the people standing next to him are fine. Oh, thank God. This is, again, 20 seconds in the movie. My eyes are already in the back of my skull, and I'm questioning logic. Great start. Then we get going. And I just wrote down, very confusing. We're jumping around, no setup for any of this stuff. Just scene after scene after scene after scene. And I kept thinking to myself, well, this is where they should have started the movie. Oh, that's a pretty good scene. That's where they started the movie. No, wait, that's crap. Characters just keep getting introduced every, 10 minutes. You're just like, what? Who? It's like a roulette wheel of actors. You just spin the wheel and up, Willem Dafoe. What the fuck are you doing in this movie, Willem Dafoe? Good to see you in 4-3 again. It's just confusing as hell. With a 4-hour film, and with a pace this slow, you'd think he'd be able to make a coherent scene-to-scene structure. And he can't. And if you have 3 scenes in this movie, 2 of them will make no sense, and you won't understand them until maybe even hours later, sometimes. Steppenwolf makes his appearance. No, see? He's just not impressive. A Apparently this was a big upgrade from the last round. I don't see it. Every single moment of his entire existence is CGI, and it is subpar. It's not an interesting design, even with Zack going back to the drawing board. It's not an interesting performance. He's distracting. He's cartoonish. He's rubbery sometimes. Sometimes he's got weight and heft. It's rendered beautifully. Like, you can tell it takes a lot of work, but it just looks like a shitty cartoon. I'm sorry. They try to give him a backstory. It doesn't really work. And honestly, at this point, 2 hours in, I am openly comparing it to the Avengers, because it's the same exact fucking story. I couldn't help it. I tried. But every time I looked at Steppenwolf and Darkseid, I'm just like, this is not good. I've seen it better. I've seen Thanos. I've empathized with Thanos. Thanos is like a human character. These are just video game bosses.
From the fiery depths of apocalypse.
Is it time to talk about the 4:3 aspect ratio yet? Yeah? Okay, good. Let's talk about it. Because at this point in cinema, 4:3 aspect ratio is a choice. There's a reason for it, or at least there should be. It's an aesthetic. It's an auteur's choice. And if you need any proof of that, you just go ahead and look at Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse and a movie called Ghost Story. These are auteur filmmakers who are choosing to film this for a reason and utilizing that aspect ratio to dizzying degrees. They're gorgeous. Trust me, this fucking thing is no Lighthouse, and it sure as fuck ain't no Ghost Story either.
Wow, okay, so...
There's nothing apparent. There's no justification for the choice or the aesthetic. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just kind of whatever.
He lies.
Although, and strangely, Willem Dafoe is in this movie, and he does play a seafaring character. This has got to be the easiest paycheck Amy Adams has ever cashed. So far, she hasn't spoken a word. Half these actors probably showed up for like 4 hours. They might have done this over lunch. It's kind of impressive. There are certain lines in this that just like make Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal blush. Like, ooh, really? You're gonna say that?
The world does.
Fuck the world.
Fuck you and die.
There's so many 90s action tropes disguised as gritty 2000s comic book adventure. It's not. It's cheesy, low quality, straight to VHS action bullshit. He's so reliant and lazy when it comes to his slow-mo. And again, this was one thing that people were like, yeah, the slow-mo works. I kind of liked it. No, it's like a crutch. He's extra reliant on it. There were scenes where it happened for literally less than 3 seconds. Barry Allen makes sense. As a matter of fact, I'll give him kudos. His slow-mo looks great. So yeah, the fight scenes are just a bunch of ones and zeros slapping each other around. And it's completely ineffectual. It does nothing to you. It doesn't pack a punch, to be punny. It doesn't pack anything, because there's nothing there. I mean, look, the computer works really, really hard, and the animators do too, and I try not to take away work from them, but at the end of the day, this just looks like a cartoon. It's just a cartoon. It's not even as good as Batman the Animated Series. I give that more credence and emotional weight. 2 hours in, and we got to talk about Zack at this point, because here I am hoping for an opus and an epic and a change and a maturity, and it's just good old Zack again and again and again, which is unfortunate, because he, in my eyes, is one of the most immature men working in Hollywood today.
You know,
he has no follow through to the end. He gets so close in this movie to garnering genuine emotion, and he literally cannot help himself but fumble the fucking ball. He can't help himself. He either needs to be tone deaf, self-indulgent, over the top. I've never heard so many goddamn sappy, sad 70s pop songs in my entire life.
The starry heavens above me, and the morrow law within.
And it doesn't even feel like they fit. It feels so forced.
So the world appears through this mist of.
All of a sudden, it's like somebody put on my dad's record collection. You're like, wait, what? What is happening? He cannot help but be himself, and he hasn't grown, in my eyes, cinematically at all. Everything is like, oh no. Because he is a director of bad habits.
yes, exactly. Literally.
He doesn't have a very slick hand when it comes to directing. He's obvious. He's exceptionally in your face, and it's tiresome. And after 2 hours, the summation of this is essentially, this is a Zack Snyder movie.
I don't know how else to do it 100%, so it is what it is, you know.
Hey, there is a good thing on here too. I really like the characters. I will give the movie that. They seem to be writing them pretty well. The plot is the problem of the movie. So far, the characters are great. There's a few standouts, and there's some weaker parts, don't get me wrong. All the B characters are useless. And even some of the Justice League is underwritten. But there are a few standouts. Batman, Batfleck, he's great. He's really, really good in this movie. He's, a little over-the-top gruff, and boy, does he look fucking uncomfortable in that giant muscle suit. Like, it almost feels like he cannot move at all. Superman. But my two favorites so far in this movie are Cyborg and Flash. Now, both of these characters from when the movie first came out, the Whedon cut, a couple years ago, I heard were miserable. I heard Cyborg was essentially useless, and Ezra Miller's Flash was just annoying. Well, in this version, that is not the case. Cyborg is just great, and the actor who plays him, I'm forgetting him right now, I'm so sorry, but he is really good when he gets a chance to be. Now, that doesn't change the fact that the character absolutely looks like garbage, and that it's almost so distracting that half the time you just feel bad for the actor, because you're like, just make the poor guy a suit. You ever seen RoboCop, Zach? Are you fucking kidding me?
Your move, creep.
The CGI is completely distracting. It's cartoonish. It's cartoonish. And what they're trying to sell you is adult, real, gritty emotion. And so anytime Cyborg as a whole makes an entrance, it's a little bit of a bummer. But again, he's written really well, and the performance is there. And the one character that is saving this movie for me entirely is Ezra Miller's Flash. Thank you, God, for Ezra Miller in this movie. Literally, he's the only thing keeping me watching it. I'm excited to go back because of his performance. He's charming, he's hilarious, he's a movie saver, honestly. Thank you, Ezra.
Oh gosh, I hope everyone's okay. See, in times of crisis, for dog work, I always bring a meat snack.
I can't lie. I'm morbidly curious to see what the rest of this, should we call it an epic? epic is like. So let's put down the notes and let's go check it out. Yeah, let's finish it up. Let's do it. Let's start with the good. Loved Martian Manhunter. So good. So good. Except for the ending. But that first scene, woo! There's this fun infiltration scene with the Justice League where they have to break into this military compound. And it's great.
Aye.
There's a certain sequence when Superman is resurrected where this movie starts to feel like an early comic book classic. And thank God, it is one of the best sequences in the whole entire movie. And then let's see here. I'm all out of good. Now that the good is out of the way, let's discuss the bad. What the hell is going on with the inconsistent green screen throughout this entire movie? Sometimes it looks like a shit, like, television show from, like, 98. There's so many absences in logic and moments of complete and utter stupidity throughout this entire fucking movie. Powers are completely inconsistent. You don't know if he's gonna cut a building in half or graze somebody. Ooh! So there's no, like, consistency of any kind of logic, whether they be superhero logic or actual real-world logic. Also, there's far too many superhero landings and poses to count. They violently bombard through cement layers into the earth, and they just... You're like, can you just walk? Why the black Superman costume? That part of the movie needed color and hope and the feeling of rejuvenation. He's come back, and he looks like a supervillain. He looks like an evil version of Superman. And he's smiling and did it, and it just doesn't look good. And that's when you start to really notice the desaturation. It's just so muddy and ugly. And I mean, can you fucking light your actors just a little bit? I kept seeing, like, light the other side of their face. He doesn't know how to light. And now we have to talk about this epilogue. And it just feels like a bunch of deleted scenes thrown at you for no reason. It makes no sense, and it supplied us with the worst Joker scene in all the movies. Not to mention, it's some of the worst acted stuff in the entire movie. To end the movie on that is like a whimper. I mean, truth be told, there wasn't much going on before that epilogue, but at least they had a proper ending. Again, this is the worst Joker scene ever. And I had to write a couple lines down to prove it to you, because I couldn't believe that I heard them. At one point, Joker looks at Batman and says,
"Besides, who's gonna give you a reach around?"
Like a reach around.
Who's gonna give you a reach around? Who's gonna give you a reach around?
Is he talking about a different reach around? Did I mishear that? Can someone please help me? Because I'm pretty sure Joker just said to Batman,
"Give you a reach around."
Reach around.
Then, not 2 minutes later, Batman, with his grumbly, Batman, with his voice, says,
And make no mistake, I will fucking kill you.
what? And then, to cap it all off, how else could he end it but with a rendition of Hallelujah? Yet again, boy, How original. How brilliant. So that's essentially what 4 hours of Zack Snyder is left you with. Nothing original, nothing really exciting, nothing truly memorable. Just kind of a really long Zack Snyder movie. And if you couldn't tell, I wasn't really a fan. I haven't been a fan for a long time. And this does not help that situation. I was really hoping for some growth. I was hoping that the internet was right. I was hoping that all these film critics that I've trusted and liked and enjoyed weren't drinking the Kool-Aid. But I have to disagree with all of them. Unless you're morbidly curious like me and you can handle 4 hours of utter nonsense, well, give it a try, my friend. But everybody else, I think you can skip the epic for now.
Wow, okay, so
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you coming back and hanging out with me and listening to me bitch about Zack Snyder. Boy, do I appreciate it, because I need to get it off my chest.
Nobody ever goes out to make a movie to impress critics. You do it for the fans of whatever genre, whatever franchise, whatever comic book series you're making.
Every grandiose dynamic pose reminds the fans at home of Michelangelo. This man's a pro. Snyder stands alone behind the camera, yo. Every shot's framed as if this shit were out of some Renaissance painting by an old master. They tried to hold back the Justice League, corrupt and treated like it don't matter. That's why we're so mad the battle lines is gonna have to be drawn. It's up to y'all to choose which side of those that you're on, the one of uncensored expression or an agenda.